This is the Thom Hartmann Program on Free Speech TV. I'm Jefferson Smith sitting in, joined by Barbara from Sun City, Arizona. Barbara, how you holding up in the summer?
Well, it's hot, and I don't want to use any swear words, but it's...
Is it gotten to 200 yet, or is it still in the hundreds?
Well, God bless my air conditioning guy. That's all I have to say.
So what's on your mind? What are the big questions? What are the things that...
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's a few things. I've been screaming this for years. It's not just Trump. It's the Republicans. It's not just the Russians. It's what Greg Palast is clearly saying in his investigation, the best democracy money can buy. This is before Trump. This has been going on. They're complicit. They're traitors. They're the ones allowing this to happen, and they let Trump be the one to take all the cover, while they are shooting the guns in the background, destroying the economy, the environment. They're complicit, and we've got to protect our elections. And it's not just the Russians manipulating the elections. It's Chris Kobach and the ilk, and take a look at what's going on in Atlanta and Georgia and Florida and purging of votes. We've got to get on this. We've got to get Greg Palast on mainstream media. This is kind of enough is enough.
I agree with you. In fact, it's hard for me to imagine somebody saying some things I think are more important to say. It is tempting to point at Putin as the boogeyman and think if that boogeyman can be thwarted, democracy will be saved. I am here certainly not to praise that Caesar nor to bury him. That said, that is not the only boogeyman. That he did not start the fires, Billy Joel said, and we have to figure out how we save democracy. In the previous times that I had the privilege of sitting in this chair, I framed the debate not merely as one of Republican versus Democrat, and not one merely of the United States versus Russia, and certainly not merely the media or Robert Mueller or me or you against a single occupant of the White House, but of the power of property, including inherited property, versus democracy. And this country stands not only and not merely and not primarily, and I would say in large part in opposition to the idea that merely inherited power should wield power, and stands up in favor of the idea of democracy. And Barbara, I really appreciate your call. Randy, go ahead.
Hi. I'll finish up. Rudy Giuliani, who thinks that the truth is a concept or some virtual thing out there that is not tangible and real. And go back to something that came from his law office back during the campaign or prior to all of this obstruction of justice and everything else, that during the campaign, the Giuliani law office wrote Cambridge Analytica a letter advising them that it would not be legal for them to participate or to offer help to the Trump campaign, and yet they did it anyway. And I don't hear anything about this, Jefferson. So I think that the barrel, the apples are rotten all the way to the bottom, to the core, and of the barrel, and it goes right back to the legal definition and how his law team have behaved and what they're going through. They're leaving him for a reason, that they're not going to get caught in his web of lies.
I appreciate it, Randy. And I appreciate both of the callers whose initial instincts. And it reminds me that this is not merely a show. At its best moments, it's a mini movement. If it is merely a show, then all this is bread and circus. That we have to be doing more and experiencing more than mere dazzlement from the national tragedies that befall us, but in fact engage in them, hopefully constructively and with thoughtfulness. And I appreciate both the callers for sort of pulling out our eyes that what's really going on. It's not just there's a reality host who is corrupt in the White House. There's something else that enabled that continues to fuel it, that in fact called for such a thing. And the question that was posed is truth. I do think that gets to the root of it. Yeah, one could dismiss it as a slip of the tongue, and I don't want to use one line to define all things. But there is a debate that is going on, and I again say that it's not merely a debate. It is not what Republican versus Democrat meant 75 years ago. That right now there is a team that has occupied one of the two major parties in this country that has a different view of power and democracy, and thinks the democracy should be at the tool of power rather than power should be the tool of democracy. And that, as we learned during the Nixon administration, in fact, when we learned about the rat effers, about the people who were trained to mess with elections, they thought that it was kind of a fluffy-hearted liberal idea. And I don't mean left-leaning. I mean the anti-Nazi, anti-communist liberal tradition. It was a liberal idea that truth was what was supposed to be in charge, that rational analysis and people coming to agreement was supposed to be the thing that made the ultimate decision. When in fact, somebody who opposes those fluffy hearts recognizes it is will, it is power that makes the decision. And that, to me, is what is at stake. When Rudy Giuliani says truth is not truth, it might be a slip of the tongue. It is also a reminder that there are key forces running the country who are not after the small L liberal tradition of figuring out a rational and reasonable response to what ails us, but merely and primarily in the wielding, preservation, and application of power.